Part 3. Sunset lost track of her just before the lifts. Lifts? Okay, so the author is British. Good to know. Almost crashing to a crowd of med students crowding outside of a ward. So until she got to the lift doors themselves as she found Sonata again. Throwing herself into the lift after the doors began to close, she leaned against the wall and panted as the angry barking of a security guard telling him not to run was cut off by the closing door. Sonata, I get you're upset, but don't run off like that. Sonata didn't respond. She seemed to be staring into space, her legs twisting as though urging her to run more. Sunset had never seen her so agitated. The moment the door of the lift opened, she flew against it, squeezing through the crack and nearly bowling her over an old lady and her husband. Sorry! Sunset hastily apologized as the woman screeched in surprise. Sonata, come back! Yep, definitely not listening to a word I'm saying, she thought. She tossed around support pillars, by Sonata fleeing out of the main entrance. She caught up to her again, outside, as Sonata puzzled her way to go through. Catching her arms, Sunset pulled around her and held her firmly in place. Even like this, she turned her head this way and that, muttering incoherently and looking frankly deranged. Pulling her aside in case any hospital staff saw them, she told her firmly to calm down. We need to find Rainbow, Sonata stuttered. Okay, Sunset said, trying to get sound understanding. But you need to calm down first. You can't go running off on your own like this. You're going to get hurt. She held up the sketch pad to her. You're so panicky right now, you forgot this. Sonata took the folder, color returning to her cheeks. She appeared to concede that Sunset might have had a point. Either way, her breathing slowed to a more natural state, and was sinking a great deal less. Sorry, she said secretly, holding a tremendous hand to her head. I know, Sunset promised. I know. To be honest, I don't know what you're going through. I never had a friend hurt before, let alone a sister. I can imagine how sort of might act if something happened to. She cleared her throat, hoping Sonata didn't notice the slight flush of color suffusing her face. She seemed far too distracted to notice anything at the moment. What's with the running? She asked in a growling tone. Do you have an idea? Sonata rubbed her eyes a little before answering. Actually, it was Rainbow who gave me the idea. With numerous pauses, Sonata explained her idea to Sunset Simmer. Sunset was honest with herself. She was astonished that Sonata could come up with such an idea as he was proposing. It wasn't that Sunset was the opinion that Sonata couldn't come up with ideas. She certainly could. But this idea was so nuanced. It had a level of complexity to it that frankly astonished her. Do you know how much work that's going to take? Sunset asked cautiously. A lot of preparation, a lot of organization. I kind of wonder about the cost of it all set up too. I know, I just... She pressed her lips together for a moment. Can't leave her like that. As she was honest to herself, Sunset had little love for Arya Blaze. Considering that she knew that Arya had done to Sonata and how she had acted in the hospital just now, she had to admit that her sympathy was rather limited. But on the other hand, Sunset couldn't think of her plight without compassion. Arya Blaze might never walk again. Nonetheless, only her friendship with Sonata could propel her to say these next few words. Fine, let's do it. Sonata looked up with fresh hope in her face. You mean it? She asked, the color in her face rising. Yeah, we'll at least give it a try. And I think I have some ideas on how we can... Thank you! Sunset's pondering on logistics was cut short, and Sonata seized her around the middle. Knowing by now Sonata's usual propensity for hugs, Sunset wasn't surprised by it, but she was surprised when her feet left the ground and her ribs began to concave. You're welcome, but... Lugs! Butchery! She gasped. Sonata put her down, looking completely sleepish. Well, said a familiar voice. Rainbow Dash, arms folded with her grin wider than the hospital welcome sign, stood watching them with heavy lidded eyes. To be honest, I didn't believe it until I saw it. Rainbow Dash! Sonata cried silently. We need you. Oh no, don't mind me, Rainbow Dash said, holding up both hands and beginning to walk away from the secluded little corner. Please, carry on. Rainbow Dash, Sunset said, gritting her teeth. Shut up and get over here. Snickering, she swaggered over. Oh, I owe A.T. and Pinkie Pie for telling me this one. I jelly thought they were messing with me. During Rainbow's teasing merriment for a moment or two, Sunset slapped her across the face with a wet fist of serious news. What? Slapped her across the face with the wet fist of serious news. I Excuse me a second, folks. I need a moment. All right, I have checked, and I have never heard that colloquialism used ever. If anybody has ever heard somebody ever telling you that you slapped her across the face with a wet fist of serious news, please put it down in the comments, because I have never heard of it. As Rainbow listened to the situation and to Sonata's plan, her expression went in a snarly transformation. Multiple expressions fight for control of her face, until it coalesced into a steely look of eagerness. The kind of look Sunset had observed in her face before delivering the winning goal in a football game. I knew it was a good idea, Rainbow boasted happily, her arms behind her head as they sat on a park bench, drinking pop from a hospital vending machine. But seriously, that totally sucks for her. Whatever she's done, whatever she is, I don't think she deserves to never walk again. Sunset agreed. She's just scared. Sonata chimed in. She's always kind of like that when she was scared. She ignores things that just explodes after a while. It's not her fault. Sunset said nothing to this, but didn't like hearing Sonata defending Arya's behavior. Hey, I can hardly say anything about temper tantrums, Rainbow Dash said, shrugging her shoulders a little awkwardly. You asked Fluttershy how I was when we grew up in Cloudy Deals together. I was a afraid little snot rag. So, you're up for it then? Sunset asked, deciding to hide her misgivings. Sure am. Like I give up a chance to rock. Oh, Sonata said suddenly. How'd your test go? Rainbow paused, seemed like considering the question. Yes, I knew a lot of the answers, I think. While Rainbow went to get them all food from a Japanese takeout across from the park, Sunset accompanied Sonata back to the hospital to say goodbye to Arya. Unfortunately, their receptionist informed them that Ward 23 was currently off limits. Broken stitches, apparently, the man said, looking on their at the computer screen. Good news, though. She's being transferred to the hospital in your city. Transferred? Sunset asked suspiciously. Arya couldn't pay for that, nor could she see why this hospital wanted to do it. She was at critical distance as this guy was making out. It certainly wasn't safe. Once her condition is stabilized, the man confirmed, she's registered as a student at Carolina High School there. Someone has donated funds to have her transported and cared for. Donated? Is it someone paying for her? The man sighed. Do you know a Mr. Trenderhoof? He said, as though he found the name absurd. Sonata and Sunset glanced at each other. Dude, that name should be commonplace around here. I wish she hadn't done that, Sunset said nervously. Dacia must have sent that money, Sonata surmised. His Trenderhoof is her manager or something. Yeah, so that's one part of the plan down the toilet. What do you mean? Well, Sunset said uneasily, to be honest, I had a slim hope that Dacia might force some money to get started. I don't think she'll have another wad of cash like that one floating around somehow, or she had to offer to pay for the surgery. We'll find a starter, Sonata said confidently. Sunset had to be impressed by how quickly Sonata recovered. The plan seemed to have galvanized something inside of her. Sunset could honestly relate to that feeling. First, we had to get back and tell our friends about this. Maybe Dad said yes, but the others don't go along with it. It won't work. I'm sure they will. If Rainbow agreed, I can't see anyone else saying no. True, Sonata said thoughtfully. And I think we'll need Pinky's help most of all, and probably Rarity for the last bit. The idea that Sonata needed Pinky for something scared Sunset when she thought about it. Sonata was whimsical and airheaded at the best of times. When she and Pinky got together, things tended to veer straight into calamity of arbitrary disaster, usually involving party string or tartly worded warnings to the city hall. But Sonata waylaid these concerns slightly. How much of that canvas she by Whitewell do you think she still has left? Sunset pondered. I don't know. A lot, I suppose. I don't see your parents doing any more than usual. Good, Sonata said, rubbing her hands together, smiling like an evil genius. She tried out a half-baked maniacal laugh, making several people in the parking lot stare at her. Do I want to know why you're trying to scare an octogenarian to death? Sunset asked with a grimace. Don't you fret about that. Sonata patted her on the head condescendingly. Sunset folded her arms and tried to look stern, but it was hard when Sonata was up to her antics. At least Sunset ended up smiling in amusement. You look! Neighbors here with the food! It had never been worth arguing with Sonata once he set her mind to something. She never heard anything about the first few words. Nevertheless, Sunset had reservations about her idea, a way that she seemed to want to go about it. Everything was a financial issue, so her dismissing the immediate financial obstacle did not bode well. What's more, the entire thing required funding, advertising, participation, the consent of their neighbors and landlord, most likely a permit for the city. In short, a great deal of paperwork. Sunset was just glad spring break was upon them, for between her job and schoolwork, she would never have time. Applejack will definitely go for it, Rainbow said, turning back. I got a number already. Well, yeah, you're friends, Sonata said, puzzled. Why wouldn't you have her number? Rainbow squinted at Sonata as Sunset explained what a figure of speech was. You know, it's scary how much like Pinkie Pie you are. Sonata seemed to take that as a compliment. The whole thing will be essentially a giant party, so still pitch in. Rarity will be easy to persuade. Sunset smirked. We just have to get her to assign us new clothes for it. So be begging to join in. One could never have too many costumes. Rainbow Dash gasped an uncanny impersonation of Rarity. I never took her for a Daft Punk fan. They all laughed. But seriously, Sonata, Sunset said, lowering her voice again, what do you need Pinky's canvas for? Well, it depends, really, Sonata said, frowning slightly as a sign of deep thinking. How long do you think until we could do it? Sunset thought about it. It's a lot of preparation. I don't know how long it'll take. Ballpark estimate? I don't know. 3 weeks if we start today? Sonata grinned wickedly again. Plenty of time. You really gotta stop doing that, Rainbow said conversationally. Sonata rubbed her palms together seriously. When they returned to the city, Sonata insisted on sitting out immediately to her friends' individual houses to ask them for their participation. Sunset knew better than to stop her, but determined herself to go home and work on some logistical issues with Sonata's idea. Oh, okay, Sonata said, looking slightly disconcerted. Do you want me to come with you? Sunset asked. Sonata paused and shook her head. No, it's okay. Thanks for looking at those problems for me. I wouldn't know where to start. She laughed. I could come with you, Rainbow Dash said. Think you'd be more willing to listen if both of us go. Does he have to go home? Sonata asked. Rainbow waved an airy hand. Yeah, my dad will be at work until 7. I got all day. Sunset turned to leave, raising her hand to wave goodbye. But Sonata suddenly spoke again. Wait, Sunset. She hastened over, pulled at her arm farther. Could you take that back with you, please? Yeah, no problem, Sunset asserted, taking the folder. Sonata gave her a ring and smiled and turned back to join Rainbow Dash. Sunset wondered as she ascended the lift to her room's floor whether she should ask her neighbors if they minded her and her friends enacting Sonata's plan. When the lift dinged to a stop, she decided against it for the moment. The first thing to do was to get official authorization before she asked anyone else's permission. It's no good asking Mr. Sweet or Miss Baum if they minded. The police were going to swoop in and shut them down anyway. Back in her apartment, Sunset sat down at her coffee table, marveling at how easy it was to move the 3 easels to dance around. They hadn't been down in 2 months, setting the sketchpad down on the seat next to her. She opened up her laptop and sent a few things before doing a search for a particular issue. As she scrolled through the city's official page, she sighed at how ominous looking it all looked to be, and so decided to brew some tea to keep her awake. She brought the steaming mug back to her seat with a half-full packet of biscuits. She accidentally knocked the sketchpad off the chair, scratched to the floor. Cursing, she set down her tea and picked it up, praying it wasn't broken. The sketchpad had shaken itself loose, and the zip pocket on the left side fallen out. But otherwise, it looked okay. Straightening the pad back into place, she picked up the pocket. When she found to her surprise, it was transparent on the back. Looking at it, she found the pocket contained a small number of papers. Intrigued, she went to open the zip to see what they were there. One was struck by a doubt. I shouldn't be snooping at these, she thought to herself. If she put them in there, she probably doesn't want anyone to see them. Then, she reasoned, what could Sonata possibly be hiding in an art folder? It was hardly the safest or most secure location, so she couldn't. Sunset thought be anything valuable or overly personal. Certainly, curiosity finally overcoming her misgivings, she opened the zip and pulled out the papers inside. Her heart turned towards her throat. For a moment or so, she could only stare at what seemed to be amusement. Saying to someone Sonata could draw is frankly a display of how ill-adapted the English language could be to expressing her thoughts and feelings. Sonata's ability to draw was exceeded perhaps only by the other surprising talents, like Rainbow Dash's propensity for sports, or Flashlight's curiosity and feeling connection with animals. These were beyond anything Sunset believed Sonata was capable of, and they were all of her. Naked! Ow! In the buff! Ow! And nude! Ow! doing this and I keep hurting him, but he won't listen! Holding at the first picture, she somehow instinctively knew what it was. Started herself on a roof, with a stairwell behind her. Her in the picture was standing in an uncertain posture with a look of mingled fear and concern on her face. Perhaps, too, a little shock. The picture was colored in, so that the picture of Sunset's hair simmered in gold in a fading white of twilight. She looked as though she were glowing with a faint, personal radiance. Forgetting her misgivings on the instant, she rifled through all the pictures in a daze. Sketch of her at school, casually brushing her mane of red yellow hair from her face. A cross hat drawing of her working on a laptop and drinking tea. A color drawing of her singing during the Battle of the Bands, with her pointy ears and tail on prominent display. It went on and on, from the bare sketch to a fairly detailed comic. And all of them remembered that she doesn't wear a bra. Ow! See, Sunset kneeling on the floor with some of the pictures thrown around her, her own smiling face looking back at her from multiple directions. She jumped as her mobile rang. Yes? She asked. Sleepy's a pin, Rainbow said for the other end. We're all meeting at Sugar Cube Corner in 2 hours. Piggy has to finish up a birthday party first. So we all said we'll meet there once he's done. Okay. You okay, Sonny? Rainbow asked, loudly concerned. Yeah, fine, Sunset lied. Just reading over some of the city regulations and stuff. It's kind of complicated. She gave the forced laugh, but Rainbow didn't question it. Okay, see you then. The phone went dead. Sunset looked around at the pictures. What's this mean? Why was Sonata hiding like this? Even though Sunset Simmer honestly didn't know the answer to these questions, some part of her must have suspected the truth. She gathered back up at the right arm and placed it carefully back in the pocket. She felt uncomfortably warm for being such a cool spring day. Her face set down to read the page of regulations didn't stop glowing pink until she again left the apartment.